Do you know what was happening with all these people?
If I knew what happened, no. I heard rumors, and then with this lady that we were living in Mar del Plata, in the hostel, she got very high hopes that his son and his daughter-in-law were alive. That's why she went to Plaza de Mayo every month. But I mean, she didn't know. Nobody knows that they were dead. They just were disappeared. They disappeared.
Everyone just thought they were like in
No,
prison
they
somewhere.
thought they were in prison. They just was trying to find an answer, but they didn't know that most of the people that disappeared were dead. And then after the Falkland Island, the Malvinas or Falkland Island, whatever you want to call war, and the China government, uh, democracy was back. That's when just people start finding out, what's really going on during those uh, late years of the 70s and beginning of the 80s. I was already living here, but I got all my family there.
Mm. So, how did you learn about the dirty wars? Was it after the fall or during?
You heard rumors and you saw things, protests and people disappearing, and you see all the, you read in the paper, you hear in the news, that you got the acts of terrorism, and then the counter-terrorists, and you see, mostly every day, and then after I moved out of the country, you start getting more and more information because also the government, was a change of government. You start thinking, more clear, and think that you heard rumors, and then you heard, and you see, the reality, what was going really happening, you know.
Mm. So did the government say anything to the people during the situation?
What do you mean the government? The new government or the government back then?
The junta, the military.
Oh,
What
junta.
did they say?
No, the junta, they always deny. They deny because they say this no, they used to say that no hay people, no hay gente desaparecida en Argentina. Decía that there's no people that they are missing in Argentina. They say. And then they say there's a few people, they're very minority, they being arrested, because because they was doing acts of terrorism, and things like that. That's the only justification. This, they didn't give much information.
Hmm. Did you know about U.S. involvement or anything, or do people know about that?
Well, everybody knew
it?
that the United States,
The Cold War.
during the, I mean, everybody. I mean, I don't think after what happened in Argentina, also Uruguay and Brazil, everybody knew that was what they call the Proyecto Condor, and the United States was involved.
But after
Henry Kissinger was the Secretary of State.
Yeah, but after though, this is after the military, or
Well, I found out, after the military.
But before that, nobody knew about any like.
Well, everybody knew that. I don't know exactly in Argentina, but people knew, what's going on in Chile. The Allende. When he fell down, everybody knew that the United States was involved. Also, they know, in Uruguay, and you start, making,
You could assume that.
they assume, it was involved in all Latin America.
And do you think like the Soviets had some influence
Oh,
on the
and the
rebels?
Soviet has influence, in the left, in Argentina, in the Montoneros, uh, in other countries, and different, rebels in other countries. Of course, Cuba and the Soviet Union. Because I remember it was in Argentina, they kidnapped it's a big corporation in Argentina, Bunch and Born. I don't know if it's Argentina or American or whatever. And one of the guys born was kidnapped. They paid, I think, $70 or $73 million, and all the money they moved to Cuba, and they killed the guy anyway.
Oh.
It was done for the Montonera.
Did you know?
That was before before the junta.
Did you know anybody involved in those groups?
Not really. I know people that was involved, with the parties, like a PC or Socialist Party or Chess Party that was against the government.
But not violent.
Oh, not really, I mean, the guy that was from my hometown was, he was older than me. He was in La Plata I was in my first year, he's been in La Plata 6-7 years, maybe more. He was the leader of the PC in La Plata. And he left the country.
Oh, where?
Oh, first, I think he went to Sweden. And then he came back, I haven't heard of it. I know they never captured him. But it was a very weird time, to live in Argentina. Even if you weren't involved in anything, you can feel tension. You see a military, you were afraid. You don't know what's going to happen.
Mm. Did you prevent yourself from being a victim in any way, or was it not in your head like that? Even though you were afraid.
Look, I was young, your age. So I was I didn't realize, honestly, how difficult or dangerous it was, back then, So I used to go out, have fun, but I was careful, yes.
How?
But well, back then, it was, right now, I heard, I haven't been in Argentina in a while, but I know, the crime is very bad, But back then, because the military were in power, it wasn't much crime over there,
Mm-hmm.
Because the police, people really respect the police back then, and on the military they were afraid of. So, right now, people don't care about, and the military is very weak.
Mm-hmm.
So it was different, totally different, like it is today.
Did you know any people that got disappeared besides the one you talked about?
Yeah, I know. I told you, from my
The
hometown.
two people next door?
Yeah, this guy, Jose Luis Suarez Lomba, from my hometown, we were very close friends. you know. I told you once that that we got this house, the the place where I live with were 5 kids from my hometown. Like 3 blocks away from that was another house that people from my hometown used to live. And this guy, Jose Luis, used to be, in that house a lot. He used to go to that house because his cousin lived there, and also to my house. And once, the was like the military came to that house and took everybody out. And I was in that house. I left, and 10 minutes later, the military came and they pick up everybody because we had to have, used to play cards, have, have fun over there, play guitar, things like that, And I left. It's like 10 minutes later, the military came. So I was lucky twice, when they bombed and when the military came, and they took everybody there, and they hold it, in jail for 2 weeks with interrogation.
Were you worried about them? Did you?
Yeah, everybody thought that these people, they we don't want to see them again. And then they released. They were looking for this guy, for Jose Luis. And like a month later, they caught him, and that's it. That was it for him. We never seen him again till today. He disappeared. So they went. They were after him.
And did your friends say like what happened during the entire?
Yeah, they got interrogation every day. They interrogated for 2-3 hours. They stopped for half an hour. They interrogated again, and like this for 2 weeks. They tried to find out, who they were, and they asked about this guy, and then finally, like a month later, they caught him because we knew he was affiliated to the PC. PC was the Communist Party. And he disappeared. We never see him again.
Have you ever heard of Adolfo Cilingo?
Oh, he was one
ex-Navy officer.
Yeah,
he broke the silence about.
That was when the democracy.
Yeah,
that was during the democracy. Back it was in the 80s.
Yeah,
he started talking, about when they dropped, those they torture and then they drop in the Rio de la Plata. Some of them were still alive. And you know what happened? Uruguay started complaining because the current took all the bodies to Uruguay. Yeah. So yeah, I know.
When that happened, was it like a big? Did that like make the public realize what was happening?
Yeah, but this was already in the 80s. When this guy started talking.
Know about that? Like, was
no. I mean, what happened before? Because the press was very controlled by the military. So a lot of things, you didn't know. I mean, there was you knew things, but from the outside, which was very little. You didn't know that much. All for paper that were, underground. Especially in university, got papers underground. The things that we want to.
So did when this interview was like shown to the public, what was like the reaction?
Well, I was living here already, but that's when the Argentinian people start, realizing that what was going on. Many people assumed, what was going on, but you didn't have the facts, and then you have somebody from the inside telling you what was going on. So that's when people change their mind.
From what? What do you mean they
change their mind? Because many people, say, oh, they were in the military junta, but since I'm not involved in anything, my life is okay. They didn't know what's going on behind, closed door. So that when a lot of people start turning, against the junta. And when Raúl Alfonsín was elected president, he took, from both sides, took to the court and sent them to jail.
From the leftist.
From the left, the Montonero, and from the military. I think it was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And then when another government, another president came, was from the Peronist party, the Menem, he indulged him.
Yeah.
Which is all of them, which I don't think was right. But that's Argentina.
A lot of people describe the events that went on in Latin America as state terrorism. Do you agree, or do you have different words to describe it as something else?
I think it was a state terrorism, but you have to, I don't know how to describe that, but I mean, what the state did was totally wrong. But what these groups like the Montoneros or Tupamaros in Uruguay, mm-hmm. or in other countries, different names, did was wrong too. Because what the state should, my opinion, what it should done is, capture those people. When they capture those people, take to the court, like in any democracy, and send them to jail, not just make them disappear. That's what it should have done, and call for election. Legal, something, not just take over, overpower any government. That's I think what they should have done, but I don't know. It's my opinion.
So, did you know what was going on also in Chile, Uruguay, Brazil?
Oh, yeah, we knew, yeah.
Paraguay?
Yeah, we knew more about what was going on, in other countries than in Argentina.
Like what?
Well, Pinochet, because Pinochet happened before, in Chile. And we will know what's going on in Uruguay too. And how involved was the Tupamaros and many things, I remember one thing that happened in Uruguay. They kidnapped Dan Mitrioni. Mm-hmm. Dan Mitrioni was like a CEO from an American company. Mm-hmm. But according to the Tupamaros, was a CIA. So they kidnapped him and they killed him. So we knew all the things, but I think we, like I said before, we knew more things about, other countries, that surrounded us than what was happening in our country.
Jorge Videla called this time period the process of national reorganization. Oh, do you think it made sense, or do you think it was a lie?
Just they had to put a name, to what's going on. Like everybody, in this country too, they put Operation Storm, and it's happening the same thing everywhere. So they put a name to something, that up to my point of view, was just they threw down, a government and got into power, and they they commit a lot of atrocities.
He said, Videla said, I want to clarify that Argentine citizens are not victims of the repression the oppression against a minority that we do not consider Argentine. What do you think about
That's
that?
wrong. Everybody, doesn't matter what you think, or what is your position, political position, everybody is, it's Argentinian. But I don't know, it was totally, that's wrong, that's a way to cover, his action. Excuse me. It's a way to cover his action.
Mm-hmm.
They know they were doing something, that was very wrong.
Because they kept trying to hide it over and over.
Oh, of course, they hide it. They always denied their action.
Even after they were put on trial?
Because, the way they put it, they say we are at war. During time of war, you do whatever it takes
to win.
To win, to get through the victory. But we weren't at war. I mean, it wasn't a civil war or nothing like that. It was just a different, Argentinian against Argentinians.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a war. It was, I think, the way I see it, it was a way, who's gonna win, who's gonna win, they're gonna win. The left is gonna win, or it's gonna be the right.
Mm-hmm.
But the left was supported by Russia and Cuba. The right was, the junta, the military, they got all the support from the United States. So, and in the middle was the Argentinian people.
Yeah. Do you think the government will ever admit to the actual number of people that were killed or disappeared?
I don't think so. I don't think there are 30,000. I don't think.
How much do you think?
I don't know, maybe 10, 15, I don't know. Maybe less, maybe more. I don't think it's 30,000. I think 30,000 is a number that they put it, to get the attention, around the world, Because I don't know, because it's no way to prove that. But a lot of people disappear, that's for sure. I don't know, maybe 10,000, 15, I really don't know. I don't see 30,000.
Raul Alfonsín created the National Commission on the Disappearances of Persons, and many don't think that's enough. What do you think they should do more?
Alfonsín was a nice, it wasn't there, but he was an honest guy, and like he said in Spanish, es fácil domar al león cuando ya está dentro de la jaula. He referred to all the military, he put in jail.
Yeah.
It's easy, to control them when they are already, in the cage,
The
and the lion. That's but who put the lion in the cage? It was his work, It wasn't easy, because they were
in the government.
The military got a lot of power, when he became president. They still had a lot of power. And to put them in jail, it wasn't easy for him. So that's why he said, it's easy, to criticize, but who put the lion in the cage?
That's true. Do you think families are ever gonna find closure on what happened to the missing parts of their families?
I don't know. You got families, that are still grieving from both sides. Family lost their loved one from the left, the Montonero or the ERP or other organization. A family who lost their loved one from the government. people that still grieve, you know. So it's gonna take time and generation to pass by. Same thing happened, you know, with the Holocaust. You know, people still, you know, as long as people are, you know, families are alive, you know, it's gonna take a little more time, I think, to heal.
Do you know about the war that almost broke out in 1978 between Chile and Argentina?
Yes, that was from the.
Did people know about that at the time?
Yeah, I was there.
What happened? What do you know about that?
Well, that was the. That's fire for a piece of land for the limits, you know, the frontier. You know. So and then I think it was the Pope who was the middleman.
So the whole public knew that there was going to
Oh
be a
sure,
war?
yeah. It was. I was afraid they're gonna call me. Yeah. 76. I was 19 years old.
Did people agree with the war? Want to fight Chile
No. People
over some islands in like the Antarctic?
not really. It wasn't.
In the Beagle Channel.
In the Beagle Channel, yeah. So the mediation of the Pope, you know, I didn't know exactly how did it work, but it stopped everything. And I think, in my opinion, you know, this was a way to distract people from both sides, in Chile and in Argentina.
From what?
From what was going on in both countries, looking. You know, in both countries, you know, was you got the Pinochet in Chile and you got Videla in Argentina.
What was?
I think I don't know. That's my opinion.
So when you came to America, how did you see Argentina once you were in America? The difference.
Well, that's a very hard question, you know, ask me, because when you move to another country, you haven't done that, you know, especially in the circumstances that I did it. You miss your country. It doesn't matter how shady or how good is your country. Also, it's true. Look at it. You miss your family. You miss your friends. You can new language, different. It's a totally different life. You have to fight for. You have to find work. You have to survive by yourself. You know, I knew nobody here when I came here. You know, I had to. First, I came to California. You know that I stayed a couple of months in California. Then I moved to New York. I knew nobody, so it's hard. Even you know you got problem in your country, you miss a lot of things. It's hard.
What about? Did you realize the differences in the government and things like that?
Well, like I said, it's not just the government. It's different. Everything is different when you move to another country. Especially when you move to a country like the United States, which you know, it's totally different. Our lifestyle here in the United States and the lifestyle in Argentina or any other South American country or Europe or Asia. I had, you know, the fortune to travel, you know, not all over the world, but different part of the world. It's totally different, you know. The lifestyle are different. It changes from each country. The people, you know, change the language, change everything. So I don't know.
What was the reason you left? Had to do with the dirty war or no?
It had to do with everything, you know, with you know, nonsense teenagers, you know, who want to know the world, you know, I saw no future there, you know, because of what's going on, with, you know, with the government and things like that, and I didn't left the country and I didn't plan to stay, here. Just as I thought, I want to move out for maybe 1, 2, 3 years and come back when things got better over there. But then, I established here, and here I am. And here you are too. You wouldn't be here, maybe.
During the Falklands War, what did you hear about that living in America
What I
from
heard.
from the media?
Well,
Or your family?
I have, very different. When I heard the American news, I heard one thing, you know, and when I heard from the Argentinian, they got a lot of hope to regain an island that I think it belonged to Argentina because the submarine platform within the 200 miles by the international treaties that belong to the country, and I still think that way. But I wouldn't go to war over any territory that I don't know. But I was very disappointed that the Argentina went to war. Because I knew, kids I had no idea was 18, 19 years old. They're gonna go to war, not training. When they're gonna go to war to, England, who has, a very, very, very strong army, and the and we know the United States is gonna go with England, not with Argentina, even though the treaty say that you can, well,
You can have Europeans in the Western
you can
Hemisphere.
intervene, in an American soil, but it's gonna be a loss. But it happens.
What about when the junta finally fell? What was like the reaction?
Well, I like the democracy is gonna be back in Argentina after all.
Everybody was hopeful.
Yeah, oh, because I talked to my family, uh, his friends and family, they were happy, the democracy. It's gonna be an elected government, elected government by the people, and everybody, it wasn't the country wasn't divided like it is today. Today in Argentina it's like here, you got the people that are with Trump and people who are against Trump. And Argentina is very similar today. You got people who is with this government, which is very much, with the ideology of the Kirchners, and people who are against them.
How do you think that period of history in Argentina affects Argentina today?
Very much. Yeah. Because people, people don't forget, even time goes by, but people doesn't forget, what's happened. And I think it's wrong that people should, you got this thing, against the military because it's not the same people, They got most of the people got this thing against, the authorities, even the police or the military, they're gonna say they're gonna be corrupt. I think it's wrong because
there's not a lot of trust in the government.
Well, they don't trust the government everywhere. People don't trust the government, but mostly the authority, because what they've been through, people don't trust people with the uniforms. Not everybody, but many people.
And you think that is one of the main effects of the junta in today's Argentina?
Well, that's what because people still, remember what happened, what they did, and also, in the school, I don't know because I know because your aunt and my sister, she's a teacher, and when the Kirchner got in power, they it's like it's mandatory. It was mandatory to teach in the school what happened during that period of time in Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
So many people who are young, very young, they wasn't even born back then. They talk about what happened in Argentina with the military, just from one point of view, one side of view, against the military. I didn't talk about, what the other side did, because the Kirchner, they are totally lefty.
Mm-hmm.
They are just against any right or government. So people still deal sometimes with nonsense.
Mm-hmm. And can you compare this to the Holocaust and things like that?
No,
You think it has
no,
something
the
to do
Holocaust
with-
was totally. I wasn't there, but for what I know, I read, Holocaust was a Second World War. No. This was one country. It was like you can call it dirty war or whatever they're gonna call it, but it was one country, inside. Was an inside war. I don't know how to describe that, but you can't compare it with the Holocaust. No. We don't even know how many people disappeared exactly. They say 30,000. People disagree, but no. I wouldn't compare it with the Holocaust.
What would you compare it to?
It's a comparison. I don't think it's a comparison because it's something that in the 70s I think the war was a little you got a lot of tension. You got in a lot of movement like the Montoneros against the government. There was a lot of movement against the establishment around the war. I can tell you, like in Italy was the Brigate Rosse, the Red Brigade. They did the same thing that the Montoneros did. Was against the government, was a lefty, organization. They kidnapped people,
Money.
well, of course, they always ask for a ransom for the cause. Same thing happened also in France.
Mm-hmm.
Many countries have those movements. Like in the 68, you got a lot of the student movement, in Europe and United States, and Latin America, and Mexico. In the 70s, you got a lot of, organizations that were against the establishment and the government.
Do you think all these rebels and stuff started with Che Guevara? Do you think it would be traced to that in Latin America? Like he was the catalyst?
I'm not sure about that. Honestly, I'm not sure about that. But many people rely on Che Guevara. Poor guy, because I don't know. You see his face in every way. I don't even know if it's right or wrong. But I think it was different times, and society was different too. Also, but I don't think it started with them. I don't know. I can tell you now. In my opinion, I'm not sure about that. I was 10 years old when they killed him.
Yeah.
I remember, I saw, in
What was the opinion on him?
I don't know, I guess I was 10.
Yeah, that's true.
And I saw his picture in the Life magazine. I remember Life magazine in Espanol, in Spanish.
Time?
Life
Oh, Life.
was a magazine, that they also was an American magazine, and also they did it, in Spanish. And I saw, I remember I was my house, the grandmother's house. Rest in peace. In the front of the house, we had a store that my father and my mother they used to rent. It was a barber shop. I was 10 years old and I used to hang out there like a work. I used to work, after school, sweep the floor, and be there. They give me a little salary, and I remember one of my duty was to go to the kiosk, the way it's a kiosk where they sell the magazine, and to get the magazine. I remember when I went to pick up the magazine for the guy that was the barber shop, the owner, right? And I remember looking at the magazine, the cover of the magazine, Che Guevara. I said, "Who is Che Guevara?" And they started, illustrating me about who he was. But answering your question, I don't think I think it was a movement,
It would happen without him?
Without, yes. It was a lot of movement against the establishment and corruption against the government. But I think they took the wrong turn, the way they did it. I think it
By
was
being violent.
because they did it through violence. I don't, I'm against violence. What else you want to know, Luca?